Tonight, the police's resolve to enforce a court order to arrest and detain Medina MP and the parliamentary duty blocking the arrest hours after district court issued the bench warrant.
It's very unfortunate. He also came to work,
Right.
and he's attending to parliamentary duties. The constitution says from parliament or to parliament.
Right.
So there is no way once parliament is, and this don't mind you, this is the crucial time that Sosu is working on the budget that is going to give birth to the salaries of even the police and the court themselves.
We're live in Parliament where the minority side has been questioning the order of the court after it declared Francis Xavier Sosu wanted, plus details of the latest attempts by lawyers for the MP to stay proceedings and set aside criminal summons.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. Together we can. After weeks of hide and seek, the Kaneshie District Court formally declared Medina MP Francis Xavier Sosu wanted today and issued a bench warrant for his arrest. But hours on, the police have not managed to enforce that court order because the NDC MP has been busy in Parliament and therefore fully covered by parliamentary immunity. He was wanted by the police, charged with destroying public property and unlawfully blocking a public road following a protest by his constituents against poor roads, which he led. Now, Magistrate Oheniba Kufuor, who issued the warrant, was emphatic when he said, quote, "There is too much deception in the system," after the MP had failed to show up in court on two previous occasions, citing official parliamentary business. His lawyers had made the same argument today, but the magistrate was not convinced and ordered the MP's arrest, issuing that bench warrant, where the police now have been seeking to enforce. I want to take you live now to Parliament, where the MP has been all day. My colleague Parker Wilson has been in touch with him and joins us on the telephone line right now. Parker, where is Sosu as we speak?
Evan, for those who've been following the public hearing of the anti-LGBT bill, you would realize that Francis Xavier Sosu, being the deputy ranking on the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, is currently in Parliament at the committee level, considering and reviewing a proposal for and against the anti-LGBT bill. So I can confirm to you that ever as I speak to you, Honorable Francis Xavier Sosu is in Parliament and currently with the committee that's considering the anti-LGBT bill.
Now, the case went to court in the morning, and his lawyers argued that at that time he was already engaged in that official assignment in Parliament. You've been checking the records in Parliament. What did you find?
So today we are told that there was an invitation given to the committee members that there will be a public hearing today. I checked the records, and indeed, Honorable Francis Xavier Kojo Sosu, and I'm quoting what's on the document, Francis Xavier Kojo Sosu, Deputy Ranking on the Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, has signed a document indicating that he will attend the committee sitting, and so, by extension, he is currently at the committee level dealing with the situation.
But what time was this? Because this was in the morning. What time? Is there any indication of the time that he signed?
The time is 10 a.m. 10 a.m.
10 a.m. And I see his signature is on it. But what has been the reaction from the minority side to all this?
Well, I must say that his colleagues on the NDC group or caucus are not enthused about the new developments that we've been told of today. I spoke to some of them who tell me that clearly they still are of the view that there's some level of government interference or machination to get Sosu arrested in order to intimidate the minority. But particularly for the deputy minority chief whip, that's Ahmed Ibrahim, he described the situation as unfortunate.
Actually, it's very unfortunate, and I think this shouldn't have come at this time. This is the time where both parties are calling for even engagement. Is that how you engage? These are Machiavellian tactics. They are long dead and gone. where we are now, Ghanaians are serious and they are waiting for us as their leaders to be able to put an end to some of those issues that are happening. So if you say you are coming to engage me and you start attacking me, will I stand
No, but this is the court. This is not government. This is the court. Court has issued a bench warrant.
Court.
He failed to appear before court about twice or thrice.
No, who took him before court? And what was the side of the speaker? Didn't the IGP and the speaker have a meeting with engagement? So if you have written to speaker that you want to engage speaker say, okay, man, doors are open, let's engage. The day came, you brought an excuse that even though you were requesting for the meeting, you had another engagement, and therefore you were praying that the meeting be rescheduled. That thing has been done. So do we have to get to where we are now? It's very unfortunate. As I'm speaking, Sosu came to work,
right,
and he's attending to parliamentary duties.
But is it going to respond to the court sermons?
I think our lawyers will work on that once the sermon get to him. But I don't think it has gotten to him now.
You can't confirm this that it's gotten to him?
I don't think so, because that will have to come through the speaker.
And since the speaker is not around, then what then happens?
There is a first deputy speaker who is acting as the speaker. So we have to meet him and see the way forward.
So would the police be accurate in arresting Sosu from his way to the house from parliamentary duty?
The constitution says from parliament or to parliament.
Right.
So there is no way. Once parliament is, and this, don't mind you, this is a crucial time that Sosu is working on the budget that is going to give birth to the salaries of even the police and the court itself. So we are in a very crucial time, and we should not be taking these opportunities for granted. This is the time that Ghanaians expect the leadership of the country to engage, to be able to put finality to some of those issues.
So would you say the court erred in this?
I can't say the court erred, because the court itself did not come for Sosu. Somebody took Sosu to the court, and somebody has been pushing for
But
this.
the court issued a bench warrant.
We are hearing, but we haven't seen it or heard it from the speaker himself.
I mean, and Parker, so the deputy minority whip is clear that, of course, even when he's done it on his way home, he can't be arrested because the immunity still covers that. That indeed is a case. But there's some concern that, once he's home, the police can effect the arrest. Any idea when this sitting of the committee ends?
Evans, the committee advertised on the running order for today was 4:30 p.m. As we speak, it's over 5:30 p.m. and the committee is still sitting. If you look at the running order, we have two more groups to address the committee. It is unclear whether the committee will give chance to the other two petitioners to also make their case. But as we speak, the committee is still in session, and we have Jacob Osei-Yeboah addressing the committee currently.
Parker, thank you very much. As it stands now, we understand lawyers are still yet to file a process in the court to set aside this bench warrant that is still pending. The police indeed can at any time, if the immunity conditions do not apply, effect an arrest. But as we know, today we spoke to the lawyer for Francis Xavier Sosu, Victor Daudu, who told journalists that they will file this process to set aside the bench warrant.
It is open knowledge, and we have told the court that that's why he can't come. He's on national duty, so he can't come. The court says that, the prosecution says that if he doesn't come, we've demonstrated we don't want him. That's all. He's ready to fight his court, and we will fight the court. But exercising a right that the law grants you by filing a motion and others does not stop the court from saying that we cannot exercise that right. So we will come back to this court. This issue the bench warrant. We will advise ourselves. We will come back to the court. If it is true that he is in parliamentary committee or he's not gone for the parliamentary committee, I think it is best for the public to judge whether he went there or he didn't go there. Right. I have told the court what I know, and I have integrity, I have credibility, and I'm sure the Honorable Sosu would love to have been here, but because of the duty in Parliament and the position as the deputy ranking, he could not come. That is why we have come. We've been truthful, and if that will be punished for being truthful, I don't think that it is. So we'll see what we'll do after.
So that's a lawyer for Francis Xavier Sosu. In fact, we are now learning that the lawyers have also filed fresh processes in court today in an attempt to stay proceedings and set aside the criminal summons itself. court correspondent Akabile joins me with this angle to this story. Joseph, what are these processes exactly?
In fact, the processes seeks to do two things. And so the first is to question the court's jurisdiction to hear this particular criminal matter that has been filed. And the second questions the propriety of the charges that have been filed against the MP. And so these are actually processes that were brought to the attention of the court this morning in an attempt to stop the court from issuing a warrant for the arrest of the MP. They were filed just at 8:40 a.m., just 20 minutes before the court sat to hear this particular matter. And so it was brought to the attention of the court. Then the police prosecutor, ASP Sylvester Asari, described this process as an ambush that clearly confirms the police's suspicion that the MP does not intend to appear before the Kaneshie District Court at any point in time, because in the said process, he says the court does not have the power to hear this particular matter. And so the court rejected the argument that it cannot proceed because of this process and issued a warrant for the MP's arrest.
I wonder what the basis of these two processes are exactly. Did they spell it out?
Yes, they detail it. In fact, they make the point that, one, the MP organized and led the demonstration that took place on October 9 in accordance with law. They say that at no point did he physically destroy any public property, neither did he order any individual to destroy any public property. They also say that the police administration has been sued, specifically the IGP has been sued at the High Court by the MP because it's alleging that since the protest took place, he has been harassed by the police, his rights have been breached. And they say that one of the reliefs they are seeking in the process at the High Court is to restrain the police from taking any action against the MP relative to that demonstration that took place on October 9. And so, on October 29. And so the argument is that because that process has the potential, if it succeeds, to grant them a relief that stops the police from taking any action relative to him, the court should not proceed to hear this particular matter and should rather stop hearing the matter and wait for that particular process to conclude. And so this was what they put before the court and drew the court's attention that this is a process that they had actually found this morning before the same magistrate who is hearing this particular matter at the Kaneshie District Court. But after it had been brought to the attention of the court and the police prosecutors had described it as an ambush, they then proceeded to make the point that the judge actually now asked the police prosecutor a specific question whether, since they commenced the investigation into this particular matter, they have been able to take any statement from the MP. At that point, the police prosecutor responded that they've not been able to take any statement from the MP. Then Mr. Daudu, who is the lawyer for Mr. Susu, explained that they have not volunteered a statement to the police because the matter in question and the issues they are raising goes beyond the police administration. It was at that point that ASP Sylvester Asari responded that if the matter indeed went beyond the police, it does not go beyond the court, and this particular court has the authority to issue a warrant to ensure that the MP is arrested because his intentions are clear from the process that is filed as well as his conduct since this particular matter came up, that he doesn't want to show up before the court. And so the judge then proceeded to issue the warrant for his arrest, saying that there's too much deception in the system. I'm not sure what specifically that sentence meant, but that was his concluding remark in court.
Apparently in reference to the two previous excuses that I've been giving, which was similarly the same, that in essence he was on parliamentary duty. It appears that the judge didn't seem to quite be convinced by that argument.
In fact, Evans, at the previous hearing, when a letter was given to him, you recall that the previous hearing, the MP was said to still be outside the jurisdiction. But the letter that the speaker wrote to the court, it had an interesting sentence. That sentence actually does indicate that one, Parliament had resumed and the MP was on parliamentary business abroad. The judge actually expressed some reservations about that because he said that sentence presupposes that Parliament was sitting abroad. And so he didn't understand why, if you are writing to say that the MP was on parliamentary duties abroad, you should emphasize again that Parliament had resumed. But Mr. Daudu at that point explained to the court that it is simply saying that he's on parliamentary duties. And so the court adjourned proceedings to today, following the assurance that had been given from Mr. Daudu that the MP will show up today. Then they came today to hear from the lawyer again say that the parliamentary committee is actually sitting today. And so the MP is unable to show up. And then the judge proceeded to issue the warrant after hearing from both sides.
Joseph, thank you very much. Well, the MP in question, Francis Xavier Susu himself, granted us an interview a few days back and claimed that he feels he's being targeted by the state for his activism.
There have been very major things in this country, and I've been a very huge and loud voice on them. I recall when, for example, the Ghana Bar president once upon a time had an issue. I was one of the voices that said he should resign. When the Chief Justice was implicated in $5 million bribery allegation before the General Legal Council, I was one of the people who was insisting that he should resign. And I made very, very strong statements, which I know that people in power would definitely not be happy with those statements. I was part of people who are introducing bills to remove CJ from the General Legal Council, remove some of the senior judges from the General Legal Council. These are not things that we should take lightly. And many people will not feel will not feel so great about these things. I believe it can be a good grounds for people to target me, and I will not be surprised if I'm targeted for harm or any of those things. Honestly, I felt very, very insecure by the things the police did. I felt my security had been compromised to the extent that even when the matter before the Parliament committee, they could even go ahead and then interdict my personal bodyguard. Clearly, you've taken away my security.
So that bodyguard is no more?
Absolutely. I'm supposed to be entitled to a police bodyguard, but once you've interdicted him, it means that he cannot work. It is not appropriate.
But you have a replacement?
I don't have a replacement. You don't just get replacements for those. You need to be sure of who is coming and so on and so forth, because...
So there was a replacement, but you were not sure of the security?
I don't have a replacement.
The police administration has not made any effort to replace...
Not at all. And it means that it will take a personal effort to either get a personal, security until such a time that this whole saga is resolved. Shouldn't government be asking a question? Why would a member of parliament be the one to lead demonstration together with his people? Why would government not asking the question? So where is the contractor who had signed 11.5 million Ghana cedis contract and never showed up on the road for over 1 year? Shouldn't government be asking questions? Who gave the contract? Why are you not supervising? Why is the person not on the road?
Well, as you heard earlier from my parliamentary correspondent, the man who is currently wanted on the back of a bench warrant issued by a court of competent jurisdiction is an active participant in the ongoing Parliament's committee's hearing into the anti-LGBTQ plus bill, which is the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee in Parliament. He's the deputy ranking on that, and it's a public hearing. And I want to go back to Parliament because a lot has been happening before the committee itself, where Francis Xavier Susu is in attendance. He's an active participant there. That I need to bring to your attention. One of the big stories we're also covering for you today. Parker is back on the line. Parker, today there's been a fair bit of very interesting comments made on the anti-LGBTQ plus bill. But in the last few minutes, we've seen Archbishop Palmer Bacco before the committee. We've also seen before the committee today the Roman Catholic Bishop Philip Name, all making strong arguments for why this bill needs to be approved, particularly with respect to the Catholic Church. What has been their position?
Well, so the Church is clear that activities of homosexuals threatens procreation, and that is against God's own directive that we need to procreate and multiply. And again, talk about even the human rights aspect of it. And the European Court has ruled that same-sex marriage, activities of lesbianism and gayism are not human rights. And so for them as a church, they are clear in their mind that even though they admit that it is not anything that really affects people, they see it just as a moral issue that should not be entertained. And so they are asking the committee, as part of their petition, to ensure that they recommend the passage of the bill. So that has been the position of the church. And if you look at the religious groupings who have appeared before the committee over the days gone by, you could appreciate their standpoint where they talk about Ghana not being a secular state, but a religious state. So they can talk about the Christianity, the Muslim community, and also the traditional community. And all these three religions point to one direction, that is the Almighty God. And for God's own principles, these are some of the things that he abhors. And so as a matter of fact, as human beings, we need to find every means to guard the activities of homosexuals. Now, Evans, just a while ago, Jacob Osei-Yeboah made an interesting proposition. In fact, he is against the activities of homosexuals, of course, so he supports the bill. But he goes on further to make the point that it appears there seems to be a split of opinion. There are those who are calling for a review of the bill in its current form because of human rights activity, which of course was espoused and championed by the Commissioner of Strikes. I'll come to that. But his point is that largely, as a country, we need to go for a referendum to look at the situation in context. Now, this would, in a way, prevent any kind of influence from external partners, that is the European countries. So when, as a sovereign country like Ghana, takes a bold decision with a referendum, referendum to decide whether to accept the activities or not. So when we are able to go through that process, and the majority of Ghanaians, which of course today a lot of the proponents of the bill or those who are in favor of the bill have established that majority of Ghanaians are against the bill. If you go through that referendum, then it will be clear. There will not be any ambiguity where we stand. And so the other foreign countries would then begin to appreciate the standpoint of Ghana as a sovereign nation. And so that has been his argument a while ago, talking about the referendum. And let me tell you about Sam George this morning when he appeared before. And Evans, you know that he is the main man behind this bill, of course, together with some other members of parliament. For him, issues about human rights does not come in at all. Homosexual activity is not about human rights, but of course about mental disorder and people's preference and choices. He cited a number of treaties which talks about how we can protect marriages and not same-sex marriages. And so same-sex marriages is not equal to heterosexual marriages or man-to-woman marriage. So that has been the point from Sam George. And I'm sure you'll be wondering why the Shraj decided to go the route of advocating for the freedom and association of these individuals. Of course, if you listen to the Shraj itself, they talk about championing human rights. And so with the commissioner, his fear is that if the bill in its current form is passed into law, and for him advocating for the rights of homosexuals, maybe he might be punished by the law, which is quite interesting. He doesn't support the activity. However, if he speaks, he's an ally. If he sympathizes with them, the bill itself also criminalizes you. So these are some of the issues that have come up today during the presentation of the various individuals who have come for and against the bill.
Yeah, here's the position of the Catholic Church, as expressed by Metropolitan Archbishop of Cape Coast, Most Reverend Charles Gabriel Pomabako, supported by Philip Name, of course, who heads the church in Ghana.
Permit me to say that a bill has been brought to Parliament, flaws in it, point them out, but the generality of the bill is what we are pursuing. As to some of what we call the dotting the I's and crossing the T's, that is why you are lawmakers. So we are not going to debate what the bill is supposed to have presented. The generality of the bill, which we support very strongly, is that homosexual activity is intrinsically disordered. And therefore, if it is intrinsically disordered according to our Christian beliefs, our Islamic beliefs, our traditional religious beliefs, and so on and so forth, you, our lawmakers, whom we have voted there, you have a responsibility and a duty to fashion the bill in such a way that you answer our sovereign aspirations. And I think that is a basis that we and you should not run away from. It's very important. Having said that, I will most probably just, indulge in a few, answers. And the first one, for instance, is how can you protect the rights of a homosexual, whereas you condemn the activity?
So that's Charles from Mabakal there at Bishop there before the committee. There's more on this. Very interesting positions expressed today before the committee, including the Mental Health Authority backing the anti-gay bill, declaring homosexuality a mental disorder. We'll bring you details as it joins the National Coalition for Proper Human Sexual Rights and Family Values to make a case before the Parliamentary Committee. Plus, Shraj opposes the bill, saying any law exposing sexual minority groups to harm is an affront to the international treaties signed by Ghana. And then later also on Newsnight, majority and minority on the verge of reaching a compromise. As Joy News learns, the NDC side has reduced their demands ahead of the motion seeking to reverse the rejection of the 2022 budget. You want to stay with us for all that and more on Newsnight in 2 minutes.